Welcome to another Friday with Fred Shoemaker. I'm so excited for this episode. As many of you know who have been listening to this podcast, I've been working with Fred Shoemaker for 12 to 14 years, and we love to geek out on golf, and we love to go much deeper than just golf itself because there's so much more to learn. And so I had the opportunity about a month ago now to sit down with Fred, and we talked for about an hour. And I was able to go back into my memory banks and sort of relive some experiences while with Fred and while at his different golf schools and with him just alone one-on-one, and ask him questions concerning techniques that he uses as he coaches folks and why he uses those techniques, the whole purposes behind them, and what we can learn from them. In this particular episode, we're going to get into the proper way to learn golf. And there's this misnomer in the world of golf that we have to somehow or another learn something, that golf is not something that's natural to us, that it is something that we have to learn as a brand new skill. And Fred brilliantly, decades ago, realized that that was not actually the case. And so much of what we have to do to become very good golfers is unlearn unhealthy and improper habits that we formed over the years. And that's how we get better at golf. So it's very interesting that most really good golfers have essentially either learned the proper way from the get-go or have gotten to where they had bad habits and then had to unlearn those bad habits to become better. And we see that a lot in the PGA Tour pros. They'll say, I just started doing something a little bit wrong and it got bad and then I had to kind of rework my swing. So much of getting better at golf is unlearning bad habits. And Fred kind of gives us the secret, really, of how to tap into that more quickly, that everything that we need is inside of us. And so I share two specific stories in this episode, one being a brand new student of the Fred Shoemaker Extraordinary Golf Program and sort of my initial reactions to how that was all set up. And then also went in and began discussing how beginners and how all of us can tap into what we naturally already know and how we can best utilize that to become a lot better at golf, right? By tapping into whatever that is. And Fred does such an amazing job of kind of taking us through this journey and explaining it. So I'm so excited to present this portion of our conversation really about the proper way to learn golf, the proper mindset we need to have in order for us to get really, really good in a very short amount of time. So let's tee it up.
Welcome to Data Access Golf, your home for rapid golf improvement. And now, from the thin air of the Rocky Mountains, next on the number one tee, your host, Aaron Stewart.
Okay, thanks for joining me. Again, we're just going to jump right into this interview with Fred Shoemaker. You'll hear my voice kind of explaining a situation, and let's listen to Fred and really enjoy. This is such a great episode. Thanks for joining me. Here we go.
My experience in getting through that, I think, will probably mirror a lot of folks that are trying to learn golf. And I was raised to play it and think about golf a certain way and positions and this and that and the other. And I showed up at your golf school with a good friend of ours, Thane, and he had given me your book, and I had read it. And so I showed up with some idea, but not really fully. But when we got into that room the first time, that conference room, which is now a sacred place to me because we spent so much time in there talking. Yeah. But when we began to introduce ourselves, I came to the realization that we were not split up based on our ability levels. And I found that really, well, now I find it fascinating. Back then I was a little frustrated by it. Because there were some beginners in there, and I was like, oh man, I'm way better than these people. What in the world can I learn with these people? What's the mindset behind that of having us all together like that?
Well, we've had a golf school in which a LPGA Tour winner and a beginner were at the same school, and I paired them together in an exercise. And the LPGA player said at the end of the program, she had the same thoughts you do. What am I doing with this person? And at the end of the program, she said, I was with someone who was actually a better learner than I was. Even though they hadn't spent as much time doing it, they had the capacity to learn and grow faster than I did. She said, I got more from being with this person than I did with anyone else. So the notion is each of us have certain levels where we are, like where our awareness is. And the capacity to experience more subtleties or more differences in that area, it doesn't matter who's better or who's worse. We all have a chance to grow by just developing our capacity to be present to things that we haven't been present to before. So it isn't that there's a formula and you're further down the line than other people. I mean, right when I practiced this morning even, my intent when practicing was, what can I tune into an experience that I've never experienced before? And I think that's what makes the difference, whether you're a tour player or whether you're a beginner.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a similar experience, and I think we've talked about it, and you set me up a little bit, and I'm so grateful that you did. I think that you probably sense you've done this so long, you probably sense the real sort of antagonist in the group, perhaps, and maybe I came across as more of that than anybody else. But we went out to the range. We introduced ourselves. We went out to the range, and we went through. You filmed us 2 different ways, and you cover this great in the book. You filmed us hitting a golf ball, and you filmed us throwing a club. And then we went back in to the conference room, and you showed me one of the beginner's swings hitting a golf ball, and you asked me, "Hey, Aaron, how long is it going to take for this lady?" And she was probably in her late 60s or something, and she hadn't played a lot of golf. You said, "How long will it take her to have a good golf swing?" And I looked at it and totally panicked because we were all in that room together. And I said something along the lines of, "I don't know if she can."
Yeah.
And you kind of had a little smile on your face, and then you quickly went over and showed me her club throwing swing, and I knew at that moment that you'd got me, that I had been had, because I looked at her throwing motion, and then you said, "Well, what about this swing? What do you think of this swing?" And I said, all I could say is it's perfect. What is it about that makes that happen? I looked at one golf swing that literally was a disaster in my mind based on everything that I knew at that time.
Yes.
To a second later, seeing the exact same person, probably 5 minutes later, make a motion that was perfect as far as a golf swing motion goes. What is that?
Each of us has, from the time we grow up, an instinct to propel something, an instinct to throw something, an instinct in how to move. It's part of our DNA. We've done it with so many things. Some people may be slightly more efficient than others. See, the purpose of a golf program is not to coach somebody in a formula, but to have them discover what they innately already have. And most people come to a program and say, I suck, or something's wrong with me, make me better. I've been doing this now we've had over 1,000 golf schools. No one's ever come and said, I have everything I need, I'm whole, I'm complete. The only thing it's missing is some awareness. Lead it out of me, bring it out of me. And that was the intent of that video, was to show people that it isn't someday and some future time. What you have is already here right now. And the point of all of this was to have people see that it's possible, And that opens up something. It isn't like, I'm going to wander forever and hopefully someday be able to hit a ball reasonably solid and break 100. It's just that, wait a second, here I have something. So it changes the orientation of how learning happens.
That was so cool. I cannot hear that enough. Fred Shoemaker has, and I will say this, that Fred has taken a lot of heat over the years from, and again, these are air quotes, golf pros and teachers of golf who are more in a more traditional type school where they believe that they need to somehow or another impose their will or force us to embrace some kind of a technique or something, somebody else's golf swing or whatever it is, and make that our own, and that's the way you learn golf. And Fred, going back to tapping into what we naturally do and who we are and what our natural timing and tempo and what our natural motions are and how our bodies work and how our bodies create motion, all of that is already known to us innately. We just have to tap into what that is. We just have to learn to be aware as to what that is, what's really us and what's stuff that we're just faking and making up and creating bad habits out of. And that's the beauty of the extraordinary golf system. That's the beauty of how Fred Shoemaker teaches golf. One of the coolest things for me over the course of the last 12 to 14 years working with Fred Shoemaker is he has had these concepts and he has been able to share those with so many of us that sort of bought in and began to see pretty quickly that he was exactly right, especially those of us who had been taught a more traditional way and had thought a more traditional way through our lives, to see that there was a new, better, and more effective, efficient, simplistic way to become really good at golf and really understand it, right? I mean, I went and when there was a point in my life, and I talk about it a lot, when I got to essentially the pinnacle of what I thought my amateur golf career would be, and that would be becoming a club champion at my favorite golf course on earth, that was the pinnacle of my golf life. But to, achieve that goal, if you will, and then be so upset because I knew my golf game was total trash and was going to fall apart again, and that I was going to be shooting in the mid 80s in the next week, 2, 3 months, and there was really nothing I could do about it because I had no idea what was going on. That huge frustration has been removed from my life because of Fred Shoemaker and how they teach everything at Extraordinary Golf. I know my golf swing. I know who I am. I'm injured right now. I have a ruptured Achilles. I cannot play golf, but there's nothing inside of me that's in a panic because I know as soon as I can play golf, I tap into who I am and I'll go right back to the mid to low 70s player that I am. And that's fine. That will be completely great. And I just love the fact that Fred Shoemaker has given so many people that freedom. Another thing that I absolutely love, again, being a researcher and an academic, that we have over the course of the last 5 years come up with some pretty amazing golf technology that can give us super accurate feedback and can do so instantly that it's really helped us increase awareness and remove a lot of the bad habits that we didn't know we were making, giving us a real view of what our golf swing actually is, not what we think it is. That has been brilliant. But the coolest part of the technology for me, I've loved the learning, I've loved all of it, but the coolest part of the technology for me is it has come in and basically solidified and proven Fred Shoemaker and his philosophies on golf to be 100% correct. And everybody else who has been shoving their techniques and tactics and stuff down our throats for the last 50 years are absolutely dead wrong. They're archaic. And if you're using them, you will never, ever be able to tap into the potential golfer that you already are. It's just literally these techniques and trying to make us swing like other people and trying to make us use conscious thought to control our golf swing. We're just adding layers of bad habits that are going to keep us confused and frustrated for the rest of our lives. We need to free ourselves of all of that, figure out who we are, and delve into just sort of the natural genius that is already inside of us. And that's the beauty of Fred Shoemaker and Extraordinary Golf and everything that he talks about. And now we've got things like Body Track and Swing Bite and TrackMan and all of that come in and basically they just completely become the foundation of everything that Fred Shoemaker has been teaching all of these years. And now it's irrefutable. The data is so solid that everybody else better fall in line or you're going to start you're just going to have egg on your face. Fred Shoemaker's way is the right way. Extraordinary Golf is brilliant. So I'm so happy that I've been on this journey. I knew early on that this was the right way. And that this was the way to go. And to now have the technology as a bat has made me obviously more annoying and a lot louder when it comes to golf and learning golf. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. So grateful that Fred Shoemaker took the time out to talk with us and share with us his philosophies. I hope to get him on the show again because this interview is just the tip of the iceberg. The man's knowledge in golf and awareness in golf and how to help us get better in golf it's completely mind-blowing. So hopefully get him back on. We'll ask him some more questions. Any questions that you have for Fred Shoemaker, please send them to me. I'd love to ask anything that you have on your minds as well. Till next time, Aaron Stewart saying better data always means better golf. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Data Access Golf with Aaron Stewart. Check us out online at dataaccessgolf.com, and we'll see you on the next episode.